Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Puis merci.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to thank the Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière for having brought this bill forward, which would create an extension during which workers could benefit from EI up to 52 weeks. This is a change that should have already been made a long time ago. And it's something which has a great impact on the lives of Canadian workers. People who get sick, who are injured, who are ready to work and work hard, but can't do so because of things outside their control. I think this would be a change that would show that the government has a heart, and also something that workers pay for. There is EI for them for when they lose their salary because of illness.
Advocating for a long time an extension of the sickness benefit in EI. We know the difference that it will make in the lives of Canadians who are suffering from all sorts of conditions, not the least of which cancer, which just makes it the case that people can't go into work when they're sick with cancer. We want them to be able to take the time they need. And in many cases, courses of treatment for cancer go well in excess of 26 weeks. And so we're setting people up to fail by telling them that there's a sickness benefit there for them when they need it that we know very well isn't long enough to take them through the course of their treatment. And it's heartbreaking to hear of workers that lose their home because they're not able to work and they don't have an income when their EI sickness benefit runs out. So this is something we know the government can do. It's something that they should do. It's something we've been calling on them for a long time to do. I think it's about time. And so I'm grateful to the member for Lévis-Lotbinière for having presented this. I also want to take a moment to comment, however, on what I think we also need, which is a larger reform of employment insurance. And it's nice that there's this private member's bill coming from a Conservative member in respect of EI. But I would note, we just heard the Leader of the Official Opposition speak about the budget. He did make a reference to EI, but I think people might have missed it because he used a euphemism, not the actual term for employment insurance. He talked about payroll taxes. And that's the only time you will hear the Leader of the Official Opposition talk about employment insurance. He only refers to it as a payroll tax, when in fact that's a premium that workers pay in order to be able to be insured against loss of work so that when they lose their job, they don't lose their home. EI premiums are actually lower than they were under the Conservative government right now. And the only words that he has to say about EI are about payroll taxes. And I say shame on him for that, because we need far more widespread employment insurance reform as the country faces a recession, as we come out of a pandemic where it was made very clear that our system pre-pandemic was inadequate. And now it's the same system that we have all over again. Not a whit of difference. The entire lesson of the pandemic forgotten overnight last September when the Liberals canceled the temporary employment insurance measures. But it's hard to believe that this is more than a sporadic fit of compassion coming from a Conservative member when they don't talk about the need for meaningful employment insurance reform, when the only mentions they make of employment insurance outside of this bill are as a payroll tax. And we won't be able to support the employment insurance system well unless we talk about how we pay for it. That's part of the important conversation we'll have over modernization. There are folks that believe, as the NDP does too, that the government ought to be coming back to the table as a funding partner in employment insurance in order to provide more training opportunities. Now, that's less about folks that are sick, and hopefully when they recover, as we hope they will, they're able to return the job they had before. But there are many people that when they lose their job, sometimes that job is not available anymore. Sometimes the industry is changing and they need retraining in order to be able to be a good fit for another employer, possibly in a different industry. People on employment insurance are not well supported. Just as many people who are on CERB or the CRB who were seeing their industry devastated by the pandemic, and industries like tourism that are still struggling post-pandemic, there were no training offers from government there. They didn't say, let's train people off CERB to meet the employment demand of employers that are complaining they can't find qualified people. No, they said, let's starve them off of CERB. Let's cut it off and then expect them, while they have no income to pay their rent or buy their groceries, to go out and learn a new job at the same time. Well, guess what? It didn't work. We ended the CERB program. We, the government, ended the CERB program with very little notice and a lot of support from the Conservatives. Did it help with the labor shortage? No, because it was never a plan. It was just a cruel assumption that somehow people were staying at home, sitting on their hands, uninterested in working, when in fact, a lot of them didn't have jobs to go back to because they came out of industries like the tourism and hospitality industry that are still struggling to recover from the days of the pandemic. So I appreciate a Conservative MP bringing forward what I think is a decent proposal for one aspect of the employment insurance system. But if they really want to do right by Canadian workers, it's going to take a hell of a lot more than this, even just in respect of employment insurance. And I hope that when they're having conversations internally about this bill, they'll start to talk about the larger employment insurance system and how it's not simply a payroll tax. It's an important insurance product that helps Canadians transition from industry to industry or job to job, or in an industry like mine in construction, when there's a slowdown of work, or I mean, you're always working yourself out of a job in construction. Eventually you finish. That's good. We want projects finished on time, on schedule, on budget. But that sometimes means there's a pause between one project and the next one. And employment insurance has to be there for people so that their families aren't on the line while they're looking for that next project to be able to build. So let's have a far more fulsome discussion about employment insurance in this place than this bill represents on its own, even as we vote to make this bill law. Thank you.